Not long ago, the village chief found Teacher's Eye in the mountains and assured her it was safe. Still panicked, Teacher's Eye asked, "You didn't hear anything, did you?" "Didn't hear a thing. My last name is Sire, not Jang. Who does say I'm not Sire?" Though the village chief's words eased his immediate worries, his inner fears persisted. I'm scared this could happen again, so he stubbornly decided to leave. The village chief exclaimed, "This isn't some dramatic exit. Otherwise, I might as well be a goner." Seeing Teacher's Eye's fierce attitude, the village chief worried she might just pull something crazy. The next day, the village chief nearly emptied the village's pantry to prepare a grand farewell feast for Teacher's Eye. In his heart, even though Teacher's Eye hadn't kept her promise, she was still the village's biggest benefactor. Benefactors can't sneak away like dessert. She had to accept the village's farewell, striding grandly, while the village chief proclaimed it was a higher-up's order for her to return to the county. This is great news. Who dares to stop her? If they do, they'll have me to deal with. Teacher's Eye just wants to teach our kids well, feed them meat, and broaden their horizons. Teacher's Eye is the goddess of Shaniuping. Trouble brings no literary stars. This scene made Teacher's Eye feel guilty, especially watching the kids stiffly sing Little Grass. Unable to hold back her tears, she couldn't help but admit that, despite the short time spent with the children, she had developed a special bond with them. Reluctance turned to farewell. After Teacher's Eye left, the children's eyes dimmed, and the chief knew learning couldn't wait. Even with just an elementary education, he had to forge ahead, grabbing the chalk and bravely facing the blackboard. The kids immediately erupted, arguing whether the character was right or wrong, splitting into two factions. The small classroom turned into a debate stage, evoking mixed emotions in the village chief. He felt a mix of frustration at his own ignorance, even regretting that he couldn't provide a better education for the kids. Just when the village chief didn't know how to wrap things up, a familiar figure appeared at the door. It was Teacher's Eye. She simply couldn't leave the kids behind and decided to pick up the chalk again. As the chalk hit the blackboard, the familiar sounds of reading filled the classroom once more. The village chief listened to the lively voices of the children, filled with gratitude and comfort. He knew the power of education was taking root and flourishing on this vast land. However, things couldn't stay calm for long. Just as Teacher's Eye was getting ready to teach, the village chief burst into the classroom, urgency written all over his face, shooing everyone out. Then, amidst everyone's confusion, he launched into a frenzy of destruction in the classroom. Today was the day the township chief was coming for. The village chief intentionally destroyed to get funds for classroom rebuild. Later, at dinner, he smiled warmly. He kept spouting blessings, but mentioning family happiness hit a sore spot. The township chief had just divorced. Fortunately, the township chief didn't take it too hard and instead asked Teacher's Eye to come up and report on the education situation. Meanwhile, Teacher's Eye was hiding up in the mountains, refusing to show herself, worried about her identity being discovered. Over time, the township chief began to get annoyed and was about to leave. The township chief, familiar with the conditions of over 10 villages, couldn't help but ask, "Why do you need my meager funds for these struggling schools? Your classrooms haven't collapsed yet. You think the teachers are teaching anything worthy of my attention?" Seeing the hopes of repairing the classroom go down the drain, the village chief fumed and unleashed his anger on Teacher's Eye. If the classroom isn't repaired, kids suffer on uncomfortable desks, risking arthritis. Hearing the village chief's heartfelt concerns, Teacher's Eye couldn't help but apologize and ask if there was any way to salvage the situation. But the village chief wanted her to go to the township to personally apologize to the township chief and fight for the funds back. No. If that's the case, you might as well just kick me out now. The village chief immediately froze, all anger dissipating, and rushed to apologize for his teacher's sake. More than his hope to repair the classroom, he didn't want to lose the teachers either. But due to previous damage, the classroom turned into a waterfall in rain, and kids had to use snakeskin belts as shields. The village chief climbed onto the roof, becoming the last line of defense, trying his best to seal the leaks. Teacher's Eye worried he would catch a cold from the rain, and urged him to calm down quickly. "I refuse to learn, please. Just continue with your lesson." Teacher's Eye resolutely returned to the classroom, getting the kids to stop the rain-interrupted reading. They instead sang the familiar Little Grass, their sweet voices weaving harmoniously with the pouring rain outside. Creating a unique symphony of Shaniuping, the village chief wore a gratified smile, feeling warm inside. After the rain cleared, Teacher's Eye organized outdoor activities for the kids but inadvertently spotted the village chief with a strange older. Curious, she asked, "Who's that?" Turns out it was the village chief's son. He was quite unfortunate too. His wife ran off with a wealthy businessman, and the village chief even chased her to Guangdong, but to no avail. Consequently, with nobody to watch his son, the child accidentally fell into the fire pit and was left with lasting health issues. Now at 3, he still couldn't walk. Teacher's Eye felt a deep pang of sympathy and began to pay closer attention to the village